So, y'all ready for this? Hey, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 21 of Chihayafuru Season 2, baby. And, it's, no big deal, just Chihaya versus Shinobu, the queen. In this round of the individual tournaments, we're not even to the semifinal. We're not even to the semifinals. We're, like, in the quarterfinals, and Chihaya is up against Shinobu. That's insane. Do I think that Chihaya is going to beat Shinobu? No, I do not. I do not think that she is. However, I think if Chihaya had not been injured, I think there would be a shot. You know what? They won the national tournament finals, so, you know, I think there's a shot if her hand wasn't injured, but the fact that her hand is injured, I'm like, no, it's not going to work out great. I don't think she's going to beat Shinobu, but I don't think Chihaya is going to beat herself up too much if she doesn't, because she had an injured hand. So there's a little bit of liability there. But anyway, so we're on this episode, or maybe it's episode 22. Is it episode 22? It is episode 22. We're already at episode 22. We just have this and then 3 more episodes afterwards of this season, which is crazy. So I've got some comments from Patreon over on episode 19 that I want to talk about with you all. And then we'll do the comments for episode 19 off of YouTube and episode 20 for Patreon next week. We'll do that. So in any case, Lee HR says the Chihayafuru conundrum. When one character finally gives you a moment of respite from his tomfoolery, the other decides to start giving you grief. Yeah, that's the conundrum so far. What can we do about it? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Indianka says Chihaya keeps reminding herself that she's at the Urayasu room in the Omijingu, not because she's exhausted, but for a different reason. This is the room where the master and queen matches are held annually, so it means a lot for her to play here. Yeah, and then you have Taichi going off saying that he's going to be master and she's going to be queen. I'm like, you're getting ahead of yourself there, our unrequited love boy, but we'll see if that goes all right for you. Then Grace had a couple comments for episode 19. In the one comment, they did an analysis of the ending song of the first season because it kind of comes back up with the scene with Taichi and Chihaya on the mats after the game. They're like, the ending song is called So Shaite Ima and is sang by Chihaya's voice actress, Seto Asami. Chihaya's voice actress has a gorgeous voice, honestly. The ending song of the first season came here to end a cycle. This marks the end of part 1 of Chihayafuru, which I know that the manga's over. I know they should have enough content to make a season 4. They need to really get on that. But so I know the manga's over, so it's like, okay, part 1 ends around here. Then we have part 2 with season 3, essentially. And then part 4, or the final part, will be with the final 4th season. The beginning of a new journey as represented for the poem of this episode, which is number 1. The promise is kept, the debt to the past is paid, and now the future begins. I like that. I like that a lot. Chihaya is injured and Taichi is emotionally spent. By lying on the tatami, the song frames their exhaustion as a sacred victory. It's the first time the story allows them to just be together without the shadow of, we have to find Arata, looming over the immediate moment. Well, they do find Arata and then do nothing with it. I'm kidding. They do something. I'm still floored that after all this time and buildup of seeing Arata, that they're just like, oh, hey. But anyway, by using the song that was originally about Arata's absence, it highlights the thank you to Taichi's presence. I like that. Taichi was the MVP of that episode, of episode 18. So absolutely, the shining tomorrow in the final line is no longer a distant hope. It's the individual tournament as they're about to enter as a team of champions. I love that. I like that a lot. It's good for Taichi. I just need him to follow through. Which, then they talked in this other comment. They have a lot to say about episode 19, so we're going to talk about it here because I have thoughts as well that I want to add before we start this episode. Because I feel like most of episode 22 is just going to be Shinobu versus Chihaya, and we're going to focus on that. They're like, I agree with you about the love triangle. At this point in the story, I actually can't see a love triangle, since Chihaya is Karuta sexual, which I totally agree with, and Arata is too aloof and nonchalant. For me, what the author has built so far is a story of the unrequited love of Taichi. I think that's where, as a romantic, I want Taichi to be in a triangle because I want him to get love. I want him to receive love. And right now he's not getting anything back romantically, right? From either Arata or Chihaya. So he's just off on his lonely little island. It's like we assume the love triangle because there are two boys who are childhood friends with a girl. Now, I'll be honest, I did not assume it was a love triangle at first because of that. I assumed it because at first, when they're kids, you set up that at the very beginning of the series, Chihaya's like, oh, we have to get back with Arata. And I thought that that would naturally, organically make this love triangle. But yeah, apparently the mangaka is not about that. That's not what this is about necessarily. It's quite frustrating that Arata is still having more conversations with Taichi than with Chihaya. Now, I do want to talk about this. I am a little frustrated with Arata's character because of this. If I were to give any frustration towards Arata, it's like, don't get me wrong. I love the complexity of Taichi and Arata's relationship, but in a way, he's still making Taichi an intermediary. I'm sure Chihaya would have loved to know that he wants to move to Tokyo. Will Arata tell her, or will she be waiting for Taichi to tell her in his stead? That frustrates me because on the one hand, Arata, you're standing right next to her. Like, why won't you tell her that you're moving to Tokyo? Why are you relegating that to telling Taichi? Like, what's the deal with that? And I do want to say there might be a reason for that, which we'll talk later on about, but I'm like, if Taichi, is he going to tell Chihaya, or is he going to, if Taichi doesn't want to tell Chihaya, he needs to tell Arata, well, why don't you tell her? But then Taichi's like, I don't want Arata talking to her. So it creates this whole big loop, right? However, I do like that Taichi is able to say to himself that Arata is a rival, just like he casually talked about becoming a master. It's like he's taking baby steps into becoming more confident. The Taichi from the past would have seen Arata as impossible of a goal to reach. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think the fact that Taichi says he could be master, I'm like, okay, good. Before, you thought that you couldn't even get past Arata, so being a master was like a no-go. So we're at least making progress in that area. But then it's like, I think Arata does know that Taichi has feelings for Chihaya since he thought they were dating. He might not be aware of the depth of Taichi's love. I don't think he knows that. About the rivals thing, I wonder if he's a bit like Shinobu. Since he's so strong, he can't see most people as rivals, especially Taichi, who he has known since childhood and thinks Taichi only plays because of Chihaya. That's where the whole communication thing bothers me the most, and why this series, it's like my only frustration with the series is that the author creates unnecessary misunderstandings. Because if you think about it that way, if Arata thinks that Taichi has feelings for Chihaya, he did ask if they were dating, and Taichi was like, no. So 1 + 1 = 2, that would tell me, okay, Arata then thinks, okay, Taichi doesn't like Chihaya, or Chihaya doesn't like him, because why wouldn't they be dating? And you'd be thinking to yourself, oh, but why would Arata think that? I'm like, because he thought they were dating. And if they're not, then he's like, okay, well then they're not dating. That means they don't like each other. So why isn't Arata talking to Chihaya more? Because he shouldn't be afraid that Taichi's going to get jealous or mad because he doesn't think that Taichi and her are dating. So, or he could ask Taichi if he likes her, but he's not doing that. So then why isn't he talking to Chihaya? She's right there. What's your reason for not talking to her? If you're not worried about Taichi being jealous, talk to her. If you are worried about Taichi being jealous, ask him. Communicate! And so it's just like, it is, I'm an English teacher and a writer, and it is making me mad at the mangaka, because I'm like, you are doing this intentionally. You are making this a misunderstanding when it does not need to be. And it frustrates me so much with this series. Also, it's like, what am I saying here? Yes. I don't know if I don't think Arata's like Shinobu. I don't think that he doesn't see most people as rivals. And if he thinks Taichi's only playing because of Chihaya, talk to him about it. Anyway. Anyway, another thing I noticed is that since Taichi won in the previous episode, he hasn't shown any emotion yet. He hasn't smiled or cried. I think he hasn't processed everything that's happened and is still in survivor mode. Of course, the conversation with Arata didn't help. I agree with that. Connecting the poem of the previous episode, we might think this is because he's still in the Bay of Yura. He hasn't reached the shore yet. He's won the final match, but as the poem says, I know not where this love will take me. He survived the storm, but he's still at sea regarding his own heart. The only part I don't like about this is at the end of episode 19, it showed him and Chihaya on the mat together when the song was playing, but then it just cuts to the next day. I'm like, I'm sorry, but realistically, Taichi should have some response between the end of day 1 tournament and day 2 tournament starting. I mean, realistically, there'd be some kind of response, even if it was him acknowledging that it hasn't sank in yet. And we get none of that. So it just feels weird. But maybe after all is said and done, he'll have a reaction. I don't know. I honestly, I just want Taichi to do something. I want him to quit monologuing in his head about Arata being his rival. If Arata's your rival, go up to the damn man and tell him he's your rival and let him know. Otherwise, Arata has no clue and is like, I didn't know I was your rival. Like be a man and let him know, you know? And I would like to think that Taichi is waiting until he's won the Class B rank matches and he's gotten into Class A, and then he's going to walk up to Arata and be like, okay, I'm at your level now. Now here we are. So maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know. But it's not going to happen today. I don't believe so, because I believe we're going to focus on this episode between Chihaya and Shinobu. So anyway, I appreciate all of your comments. Y'all know I've been talking for like almost a year, week to week, about this series, and it's crazy. And I want to say that I'm a patient person, but there are times where I start to lose my patience with mangaka. I'm like, okay, now you're almost halfway through. We're almost halfway through the series. Let's get to it. But what can we do? So anyway, thank you for letting me ramble for over 10 minutes. I appreciate that. We're going to get started with episode 22 of season 2 of Chihayafuru, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's begin. Dang, this was such a good episode. I apologize because my dog was like begging me to grab his toy, and then I kept reaching for it on the shelf and it wasn't there. It was like deep within the shelf, and I was like, oh my gosh. So sorry about that. I like ducked down a few times and then he got bored of me. So maybe that should be my strategy. But anyway, well, I'm not surprised that Chihaya did not beat Shinobu. I wish she could have taken a few more cards, but that's just me being like Chihaya and being greedy. That's just me being greedy. So I want to talk about this episode because I brought Whiteboard Kun out. As you can notice, it's been a while since he's been out, because I thought there were some interesting comparisons here between Chihaya and Shinobu and Taichi and Arata that I kind of wanted to explore and talk a little bit about in this, but you know it's going to be a good episode when there's not a lot of recap, so that's good. Okay, so as far as our semifinals go, over in the Class A rank, over in the Class A final round over here, we have in our finals, we don't know who the finals are going to be yet. It's going to be this versus this. We don't know yet. We don't even know the semifinals yet, although we do know one person that's going to advance, and that is Shinobu. So not surprised. Shinobu versus who? Probably not Arata. They're probably going to save Arata for last. Honestly, I think Arata's going to make it to the finals. At this point, I don't think that there's anybody that can beat Arata unless he faces Shinobu, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Arata is going to be able to beat what's-his-face, the brother that didn't even play yesterday. The coach is like, he'll be fine. I was like, he's going to lose. And I think that she believes that Minata has a chance because somehow she doesn't have any data on Arata. I was like, but let's talk about that. So they're getting ready to start. And of course, that coach, she is all about automatically like trying to analyze the situation and narrow it down. I mean, give her credit. She's a woman that knows how to prioritize. And I like that they're also filming the matches too. I think that's interesting, which they've been doing that for Karuta since how long? Of the 8 remaining players, 3 are ours. Well, that would give you the sense that you have a likelihood of getting into the semifinals. At least you got a 1 in 3 shot. You got a 3 in 4 shot of getting into the semifinals, but yikes if you don't make it. So Imuro is up against Amakasu from Hokuo, who I call Ness because he looks like Ness from the Nintendo game. He has good game sense and his reflexes allow him to take cards quickly. In terms of mental strength and overall balance, Imuro Kun has the advantage. I would believe that. I like Ness. I think he's a good player. I think Imuro is going to win that one. So I think it's going to be Imuro versus Shinobu, and Shinobu's going to wipe the floor with him. So I think that it's going to be Shinobu. Let's face facts. Unless Shinobu faces Arata in the semifinal, which is a possibility, there's a 1 in 4 chance of that happening. Unless that happens, do you think Shinobu's going to lose against Imuro or Makoto? No. Now, if Arata loses against the Minata twin brother, I'll be amazed, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Shinobu's going to be in the final. And if it's either going to be, I think it's a toss-up. It's going to be Makoto or it's going to be Megumi. Now, here's the thing that could happen. If Megumi wins, then I think Megumi is going to face Shinobu, and then Imuro is going to face Arata. That would be interesting, because Imuro and Arata, remember, Taichi said that he thought Imuro was like Arata. I think that would be fascinating if those two faced and we saw how different they actually were. That would be cool. So if it was Imuro versus Arata, that could be closer than one would suspect, but I don't know. If it's Shinobu versus Megumi, I think Shinobu will mop the floor with her. If it's Makoto, mop the floor. So I think that it's either going to be Arata. I think it'll be Arata. I think it'll be Shinobu versus Arata at the end, which I think will be interesting because you have the two loners who have been isolated and developed their strength in isolation facing off against one another. And then I think whoever wins, regardless, is going to have a conversation afterwards about, damn, Arata's been able to talk to Shinobu more than he has been able to talk to Chihaya. And that's a problem to me because Shinobu is... Why can't this series be a Yuri? Why? Why can't it be a Yuri? Why? Just mangaka, I know you're trying to be all heteronormative and everything, but the chemistry between Shinobu and Chihaya is so damn good. Why can't you just let this be a Yuri? There's no sexual chemistry between Arata and Chihaya right now. I want there to be, but there's just not. I've been rooting for Chihaya and Arata to be a ship since season 1, and this season the mangaka just squashed it. The mangaka was like, nope. So I'm like, okay. But then Arata, Taichi's too focused on trying to outdo Arata to pay any attention to Chihaya in that regard. I'm lying. Taichi is paying attention to Chihaya. You all know that I know that's true, but he won't make a move. So let's break that down, shall we? We'll break that down here in a little bit when we get to that. I want to talk more about them as a pair, so don't start your comments about what I've just said just yet. Give me a second. We'll break it down a little bit more, but So yeah, I didn't even start this. Whoops. So yeah, let's go back and look at this and get some screenshots up here in 3, 2, 1. So Arata's playing, she's like, oh, this guy's playing better than usual, and I've asked around other societies, and all I was able to find out is he's the grandson of the Eternal Master Wataya. You know, I say it's weird that she couldn't find out any more info, but it is kind of weird. I would imagine that the societies would be keeping more tabs on him, especially since it's been a year since he'd been playing, but maybe they hadn't. I don't know. Maybe. I do think that it is to her unfortunate disadvantage that she did not get more info on him, because obviously I don't think that the Minata guy is going to do anything. I think Arata's going to wipe the floor with him, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I do think that Makoto and Megumi are more evenly matched. I think Megumi has the upper hand. That's my opinion. I think Megumi has been kind of like on a roll, so I think they have the upper hand. I also like the fact that both Makoto and Megumi have crushes that are on the Kuruda teams with them. I think that's a fun little twist. And then what got to me was that when she said there's the queen and then there's Ayase, her game sense was enough to defeat Rion. How far will it take her against the queen? The coach from Fujisaki thought that Chihaya had a pretty good chance. She's like the only one that thought Chihaya had a chance. Like, that is what kind of got to me, is that everybody else, like, I mean, you could say that the coach for Fujisaki is very proud of her team and kind of egotistical and is like, well, if she could beat Rion, like, she was hyping up Rion so much, so you can make that claim. and say the coach was being a little delusional about it all, but I don't think so. I think that people are counting out Chihaya because she's a nobody, and she's just like, she was on a team that won nationals, but they don't know her. And so, you know, usually the people with the bigger reputation have the more. Here's the problem, and I see it in the cattle showing world, in the livestock showing world. You wouldn't think it, but there's a lot of politics in livestock showing and speech. It's why those things kind of intersect for me, because I find a lot of similarities to them in their environments. And in the livestock showing world, there's a lot of politics. And sometimes if you got a good enough name, people will hype you up and they'll back you up. Whether or not you have the best animal in the ring, sometimes it's your reputation. Now, Karuta is very different, where your skill actually is backing up your name. But I think it goes a long way in how people, like, you know, hype you up and give you a reputation based on if they know you or not. And I think that's true for Chihaya. But then she notices the injury and is like, I think that the other thing too is that when she notices that injury, she like suddenly realizes that she's been playing with her left hand this whole time. Yeah, and I mean, I think that the Fujizaki coach, regardless of Chihaya's performance, is going to be impressed. To be like, did you just start playing with your left hand today and made it to the quarterfinals? Like, you know, that's impressive. I don't think we should dog Chihaya for that. That's impressive in itself. So, and of course, the Empress is like, oh God, don't take the bandages off. I don't want any regrets. Yep. And then she like, here's what Shinobu said. Of course, Shinobu is a classic tsundere. Girl is just like, what a lame shirt. I'm like, girl, you wish you had a team shirt. You wish you had a team shirt. You wish you were on a team. You're just a big old tsundere and don't want to admit it. And I like that Chihaya in that moment is like, she has the Tai Chi bangs in her eyes for a second, and then she's like, look what I've got. I love her face here, where when she takes that, like, look how proud she is. She's like, don't judge me, but also, I like we went from the Daddy Dummy Bear to Mammy. What? And whatever this brand is, these two are crazy for it, because I love that Shinobu's like, oh my God. Also, she's like a super rare mommy bear tank top. Girl. I like that it's moments like these that remind you that Shinobu is in fact of like a 16-year-old. They are kids. But I'm like, you can't give me a Yuri show. Like, Shinobu and Chihaya have so much damn chemistry. I'm like, you can't give me a Yuri. Just let them end up together as constant rivals forever. Maybe they will. And Taichi will get over his love for her and decide he loves himself and Karuta more and goes off and gets with somebody else. I doubt that'll happen, but Look, we clearly have Shinobu up here, who has a bit of repressed trauma from her childhood being stolen from her by this Karuta Society leader that decided that to isolate her was to make her stronger. What are you doing, sir? At what cost? You made her a yandere. So, but then you have Shinobu, who has very clear chemistry with Chihaya. And Chihaya views them as friends and rivals, and Shinobu wants to be rivals, and you know, maybe we can also be friends, and it's adorable. I love it. There's so much in this episode about the two of them. I can't wait to talk more about it. It's gonna be a really fun time. But yeah, I love their chemistry in this episode. It's so good. I love Chihaya's like, yes, that's right. Look at this ultra rare tank top. I know about your Snowmaru, and I see your Snowmaru, and I up the stakes with a Mammy Bear tank top. I love them. They're just so much fun. So yeah, they get into this. Now, do we think that Shinobu was like, should I play with my right hand? Do we think she was really joking? Or do we think that she was being serious? I think by the fact that she was smirking, it's hard to tell, because I feel like Shinobu is on the neurodivergent spectrum just a hot second. So I'm like, was she joking or was she being serious? It's a little more difficult to tell. I think with her smile, she was kind of joking, but didn't mean for it to come off as much as it did, perhaps. But Chihaya took it very seriously. And she's like, that's not something to joke about. I love that she's just like, we don't joke about that. She's like, not a day has gone by that I haven't remembered her speed and her strength. She's like, I want you to take this seriously. One of the things that Shinobu has had to deal with is the fact that because she plays so strongly, it deters players. And the part that I get mad about in this episode is that Karuta Society leader, he was like, well, if she starts to make friends, she'll want to go easy on them. And the thing is, yeah, she kind of did. But that Karuta Society leader was not realizing that there were going to be some players out there who want to be played with at full blast, who don't want her to take it easy on them. Like, I mean, maybe he just couldn't have anticipated somebody like Chihaya. Maybe that's it. But so instead she's been isolated so that she would play stronger. And she actually did question for a moment. She questioned for a moment if she should have gone easy on Chihaya, because I think deep down, Shinobu just wants a friend. She just wants a friend to play Karuta with and somebody to chase after, somebody to be a rival with. Like, that's what she craves, right? So that's the thing. She craves a rival, because to her, rival equals friend. Someone tried to equate Chihaya as the Vegeta instead of the Goku, but I would argue Shinobu is still more the Vegeta. She's practically royalty. She's the queen. She's like the queen of all Saiyans. She's the queen of all Karuta players. That's very much like Vegeta. Also, Vegeta craves a rival. He wants a rival that to him is a friend. Now, you could argue Goku wants the same thing. I get that, but I don't know. The royalty thing still makes me think more of Vegeta, but... And Chihaya's personality is more Goku to me than Vegeta. Chihaya is the furthest thing from a Vegeta to me in terms of personality, and there's no royalty to her, so that part's kind of lost. But she just wants a friend that she considers a rival. Now, we have to put Arata over here, and we need to put Taichi over here. What's interesting to me is that, to me, Shinobu and Taichi are kind of similar in the vein of Taichi views Arata as an enemy. But what I wish he would do, instead of saying enemy, I wish he would change that to rival, which also translates to friend. I think Taichi is, the part that makes me kind of sad about Taichi is that he's come so far and he's done so much, but he views Arata as an enemy. The part I don't like about it is that Arata has no clue. Arata has no clue. Arata's like, oh, we're friends, right? And Taichi's like, I hate you. And it's like, no. And he doesn't hate him, but he says he's an enemy. And Arata has no freaking idea. Arata just wants to savor. He wants to savor the nostalgia. The nostalgia of them as a team. Now, my problem with Arata, that has been made very clear these last several episodes, is that Arata is stuck in nostalgia mode with them being like, oh, I just loved when we were on a team together. Those were the best of days. But I'm like, you're not on a team anymore. They're right in front of you. What are you going to do with that? Like, are they going to be your friends? Are they going to be your rivals? What do we do with that? Because, like, if they're your friends, you should be talking to them more. You should be connecting with them more, but you're not. And if they're going to be your rivals, then you need to declare that. And Taichi, if Arata is going to be your enemy, you need to declare that. You also need to tell Chihaya that you love her, but you're not going to do... I don't think Taichi is going to tell her that he loves her until he's master. Until he wins the whole damn thing. And by that point... maybe he won't love her the same way anymore. Maybe he'll realize that it's unrequited love, or that it's not, or it's platonic, or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe he will admit his love then and hope that she loves him back. I don't know. I don't think he's going to admit it until he's master, or at least until he's won the individual Class A tournament. I don't think he's going to admit it to her. But I do hope if he wins the Class B rank, I hope that he will declare that Arata is his enemy, that Arata is his rival, that he's wanting to face him next year, or wants to face him in. Because if he wins the tournament now, if Taichi wins the tournament now, could he play in the Master tournament to try to become Master? Could he do that in Season 3? I think that, because obviously we're not going to get anywhere past the individual matches this season. That's not going to happen. So maybe if the master match, if he wins, could he face Arata in the master match? And that's what we build season 3 up to. That'd be amazing. Would love that. So we'll just have to see. Meanwhile, Chihaya is Karuta sexual, but she wants to keep playing Shinobu. Again, that's why I view her like Goku. She wants to always play the best. She wants to always play the best, and she wants to beat the best. That's like her MO. Vegeta didn't want to play and beat the best. He just wanted to win. So he wasn't necessarily out to face the toughest opponent of all. He was kind of more conniving than that. But regardless, I love that Chihaya treats this match so seriously. And honestly, I think she's one of the few people that, like, goes up against Shinobu and, like, is like, give me your all, let's go. Usually Shinobu's probably, and has admitted to, when she faces people, they're afraid of her. And she hates that. She's like, I don't want people to get defeated when they face me. I want them to go all out till the very end, a fight to the death. Let's go. And she wants that from, and Chihaya, like, gives that to her, which is what she wants. I would imagine that, I'd imagine Arata would give her a run for her money, and I'd imagine that Suo would, and I would imagine that probably Megumi would, if Megumi faced her. I bet she would. So, Strength is the #1 player of Japan in the world. And yeah, and then they get started. Am I surprised that she took so many cards? No. I thought that was going to happen throughout this, but she won by 23 cards, so yeah, I'm not surprised by what kept happening. But one thing that I did really like about this was, and this part here where she, like, walks past and, like, looks at Arata, it's clear that, like, Shinobu is already thinking about playing Arata. There was something kind of oddly, like, I don't want to say sensual, but there was something where she was, like, kind of eyeing Arata, like, keeping her eyes on him, like, very, like a predator, kind of like that sort of like predator and prey relationship. But I don't know. I don't want to ship Shinobu and Arata because I feel like that's too, like, literal power couple. I don't want to ship them because I think that's, like, literal power couple. And I guess we might as well talk about the shipping. I'm not a Shinobu and Arata shipper. I like them as friends, but I don't really see them together. It's too much, like, it's too obvious. It's too obvious you'd have, like, the two isolated power players together. That seems too obvious to me. No. A crazy idea would be Shinobu and Taichi. That would be crazy. And I kind of would support that because I think she could make Taichi's mom shut up. So I don't know. But my ship that's, like, crashing and failing right now is Chihaya and Arata, because it is very clear that Arata is aloof. He is not, if he likes Chihaya, he's had a dozen opportunities in front of him to say something, because he asked Taichi if they were dating. Taichi said no. He has had ample opportunity to ask about it. I mean, I get they're at a tournament. This isn't the exact right time, but he's had lots of time leading up to the tournament to ask about it. And now, I mean, now that the tournament is almost over, maybe he'll ask her at the end of the tournament and say, hey, are you dating Taichi? And she'll be like, no, what? And then he'll be like, okay, cool. And that would give him his answer. But for all the times and opportunities he's had a chance to mention it, he's not done anything. And I just don't think he's showing any interest towards, I thought he was starting to show interest towards her after last episode when he watched her play and was like, oh, wow, okay. But we'll see if anything comes of it, but I doubt it. So, and I don't know. And again, Chihaya, she's had all these chances to talk. I figured she would be, like, blushy and wanting to talk to him and, like, reconnecting, but nope. I mean, and I get it. There's a tournament going on, but after this, if episode 25, you know, is going to be like a build-up episode for season 3. You know that it will be. If she doesn't talk to him or he doesn't talk to her in episode 25, I'm going to be like, so this isn't a ship, which is fine, but disappointing. Because, like, season 1, I was all about them, like, reconnecting and meeting and, like, going from there and seeing, like, the love triangle play out. And there's a part of me, like the comment said in the intro, that I like that it's not going the stereotypical love triangle route, but it's also kind of like, you got all this right in front of you. You're not going to do anything with it? Okay. And then, of course, there's Taichi and Chihaya, which I want to root for Taichi and Chihaya. I do. Since season 1, I've wanted to root for it, but I need Taichi to do a few things. I need him to declare against Arata that they're rivals, and I need him to be honest with Chihaya that he likes her, and I need him to admit that he's a good person and love himself. I need him to love himself first and then do the other ones. So we're getting there. It's just, and my thing is, I don't want Chihaya to feel pressured to like Taichi. Because I think that would be what would happen. They'd be like, oh my gosh, Taichi's so handsome and wonderful, and you'd be silly not to date him and all this. And I just don't think that's Chihaya. And I don't want her to compromise herself for something like that. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. Right now, my ships are like not leaving harbors. Except for my Shinobu and Chihaya one, which this series will not give me. And I'm very disappointed in that because these two are like, it just, Chihaya and Shinobu are perfect for each other. And I freaking love it. And Chihaya doesn't judge Shinobu. Chihaya views her as a rival and a friend. Chihaya thinks she's strong, but also wants to challenge her. That's exactly what Shinobu wants. Chihaya is doing what Arata cannot for Shinobu, and the series is a coward for not letting us have this Yuri love, right? Just a coward. Maybe they're not going to make this a Yuri. I wish they would. I do like that Chihaya acknowledges that Shinobu puts her whole body into moving in response to what's being read. I like that Chihaya is picking up on Shinobu's movements. I think if Chihaya had not been injured and she could have gone all out, I think she would have done great in this. I don't think she would have beaten Shinobu, let's be clear. I don't think she would have won, but I think she would have done better. And I think she would have given Shinobu more of a run for her money if she'd been at full throttle, full speed. However, as she acknowledges in this episode, I do think that what she learned from having her hand injured has helped her out immensely and given her like a new level of game sense that she wouldn't have had before. Okay, going back over to Arata, you can see that the Minata guy, he has taken no cards. He has not taken one card. And Arata's got like 2 or 3 already, so I don't think he's going to be beating him. But yeah. And so then as the cards keep going, I like that the coach for, Megumi's playing, so of course he's there. So is this guy that's the president of the Karuta Society or whatever, or the tournament head or whatever, is he the same guy that was at Shinobu's like Karuta Society when she was a kid? I feel like he is. She truly is the queen. There's something a little creepy about that. I mean, I don't know. It bugs me a lot. Like, Dr. Harada, you could argue, does the same thing with Chihaya, but Dr. Harada is such a sweet man and values, like, the teamwork and the camaraderie in the game. And there's just something kind of sleazy about the way that he's, like, the one Karuta president has isolated Shinobu. I don't like it. It's not healthy, I guess, is the thing. But yeah. And so Chihaya is able to defend her card. I love how excited she was. She was like, yeah. She's like, I got it. Thank God. I'm glad she got some cards because I was worried about her in this. But then she decides that she's like, this splint is getting in the way. One thing I thought was interesting in this is that during the match, Chihaya keeps asking the question of how. How do I win? She's like, how do I beat her? How do I win? Whereas Shinobu is asking the question of why. Why do you keep fighting? She's like, you won the team's tournament. Why are you fighting so hard in the individuals tournament? Well, today Shinobu learned that 2 things can be true at once. You can want to play on a team and win the team's tournament, and you can also want to play great individually and win the individuals tournament. Some people are just greedy like that. But I like the Chihaya's question. It's like a great antithesis to what Taichi does in a match, which I wish Taichi would learn from Chihaya a little bit. I wish there was a way that he could. I don't know how that could happen, but I wish it would, because whenever things start to go wrong for Taichi, he has had a tendency in the past, not so much lately, which good for him, knock on wood, but in the past he's always been like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing? What am I doing that's causing me to lose? Why am I not winning? What's going on? What about this? He's always like a what person. He's like, what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? Blah, 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 blah. He's saying like as if there's an excuse or a reason why things aren't going the way that he needs them to. Whereas Chihaya is asking a more constructive question of, okay, I know something is going wrong. How can I get better? How can I do this? And it doesn't seem like a lot, but the what versus the how makes a huge difference, because the what means you are delegating blame to something, and you're delegating there to be a reason why you're not doing well. And that reason becomes your scapegoat, and that reason becomes what you give as an excuse, and it's to delegate the responsibility of the loss to this thing, whether it's involved with you or whatever else. In Chihaya's case, though, it's a constructive question saying, I acknowledge it's my fault something's going wrong, but how can I get better? That implies that there's a way it will get better, but how do I reach it? In what way can I do that? And that's a whole different question and a whole different like vibe around your opinions of how you're doing versus blaming it on something and thus there's no progress from that. Being like, what's wrong? Meaning there's something wrong, but where do you go to from here? Whereas if you say, how do I fix what's wrong? That means you are wanting to move forward. You are wanting to get better. You know that you will, you just don't know how yet. So semantics, there's a difference there. And I really thought that was interesting in this match because it's something that makes you just root for Chihaya. She's like, how can I win? You just want to root for her. You want her to win because you know she's trying, right? She's like, how? And yeah, they went all out in this. I loved this. And the thing is, she's like, I'm losing by a hair. I'm getting so close to getting these cards, but I'm losing by a hair. If that hand wasn't injured, I think Shinobu would have had it in. Or I don't think Shinobu would have lost, but I think she would have had more competition, right? Which is, if they play again in the Queen match, I hope that they face each other. I really do. Mm-hmm. Now, this part here, whenever she looked over and saw Chihaya had her head down, if you watch her expression, Shinobu was like, oh no. Because Shinobu has said that's what she hates the most. She hates when people lose fire and they lose the will to face her anymore and they give up. She hates that. So when she sees Chihaya with her head down, she's like, oh, she's given up. But then she immediately like perks up when she's like, oh. And you see that, no, Chihaya was just probably in immense pain. She hasn't given up yet. Mm-hmm. And then she takes the tape off. And meanwhile, the Empress is like internally screaming, going, you ought not do that. But look at her, girl. Look at her. She's trying so hard. I freaking love Chihaya. She's my favorite character. And then Shinobu says, aren't you the ace of the team that won yesterday? You and your friends accomplished your goal, right? So why? Why are you being so persistent? And I'm like, girl, she is greedy as hell. You don't even know the half of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so they keep playing. And she's like, why are you so focused on Karuta? And at that moment, she lost her favorite card, Since I Could Not Hide. For Chihaya, didn't they say last season that Shinobu has never lost that card? Didn't they say that? And Chihaya caused her to lose it? Y'all, it's like there's all the hallmarks of a great pairing with these two. There's all the hallmarks. Like the fact of the two opposite personalities. Which, you know what? You could argue with Arata and Taichi too. I would be all about Arata and Taichi. I would. Except Taichi has made it clear that he likes Chihaya. But I would be all about it. But the opposite personalities, like the stealing of the best cards, like Chihaya has done it now to Shinobu. Shinobu's done it to Chihaya. The stealing of the best cards. The way that they kind of motivate each other. I think that that's interesting to me. That's another aspect of it that is kind of like the difference between Arata and Taichi. Arata motivates Taichi in a near toxic way Arata motivates Taichi in a toxic way, where Taichi's like, well, you're my enemy, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be better than you, and I'm going to win Chihaya's hand, and And it kind of motivates him in a toxic sense, whereas Chihaya motivates Shinobu, and Shinobu motivates Chihaya, and it's kind of like in this very pure, friendly rival way, you know? So it's interesting to see the differences between those two pairings. Meanwhile, Arata has no clue that he's even Taichi's rival. No clue at all. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more in this. Now, I worried when she went down to pick up the card and she dropped it and it's her hand throbbing. I hope that it's not anything serious. I hope that this hand injury gets healed up, because I'm like, girl, if this becomes like a third season thing or fourth season thing, do not do this show. Do not make this a convenient. If they use it as a convenient plot point to get Chihaya to lose a match or to add useless drama, I'm going to be mad. So you can see that Ness has got some cards over there. The Manada guy is freaking out against Arata. He was like standing up a second ago. And Shinobu is clearly mad that she lost her favorite card. She is clearly flustered about that. But then she sees where she sends out that river card and how the two of them were fighting over it. And that's when Shinobu's like, oh, well then I know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to move it over here so I can defend it. That's a dirty move. And Chihaya's like, well, fine, be that way. So, okay, it looks like that they each have cards against each other. Good. Makoto has some cards against Megumi, so we don't know exactly where Megumi stands in terms of that. But yeah, just Shinobu, she just keeps flying through those cards. And I like that she didn't take it easy on Chihaya, because Chihaya would have hated that. Chihaya's like, I don't want you to take it easy on me just because I'm injured, right? Oh, it's really sad. But yeah, Chihaya tries her best, and it's just not enough to beat Shinobu. So then we have the flashback. One thing I want to take note of. One, Shinobu is an adorable child. She was so precious. Her grandmother takes her to meet this, I guess, the president of the association, who has a Karuta society. And he's like, oh, you can practice with the new girl. And then she's denied friendship, which is like so cruel, so mean. Long last we meet about this reunion between friends. The thing is, whenever they said that the card went to Shinobu, I thought what it meant was that the cards were going to tie again and that Chihaya was going to get it because it was on her side. I really thought their cards were going to tie again and it was going to call back to that, but then it didn't. Also, want to make note that ever since she was a little kid, Shinobu's been wearing clothes with those little mascots on them. They're pretty adorable. The little suspenders on her pants with her hoodie is really cute. But yeah, so this girl won. And she's like, we're rivals. And then this man's like, we can't be having her making friends. She'll go soft on her opponents. So you're going to face these older kids you don't have any chance of having a relationship with. And you won't go soft on them. But yeah, literally. He's like, this man is homophobic. No, I'm joking, but he does not want to start any Yuri relationships. Not in this series. Yeah, I felt bad because it's like in the process of her being isolated and getting stronger, it denied her the chance to have a friend. And she remembered the friend's name all these years later, which means she wanted to be friends with her. And that sucks. Like, these adults need to quit trying to traumatize these kids for the sake of winning a card game. So she writes down, and Shinobu believes. I am glad that we got it all in one episode. If they drug out Chihaya losing to Shinobu into more than one episode, I was going to be kind of upset. So I'm glad they did it all in one episode. I'm glad we didn't, like, drag it out longer than it needed to be. But as she's sitting there and she hears them talking about Chihaya's finger swelling and everything, I was like, you better let them talk. And what sucks is that we do get to see Chihaya grieve. She is sad that she lost. She's in pain, but also she's mad that she got knocked out in the quarterfinals, which sucks. And Shinobu sees... Here's the fascinating thing. Shinobu interprets Chihaya losing the match to mean that she's going to give up on Karuta and not want to try to face Shinobu anymore, because that's what's happened to everybody that's faced her in the past, especially her friend from the Karuta Society. And so she wonders, how many cards should I have let her take? For Shinobu to even say that is wild to me. For Shinobu to even, like, admit that, I guess that goes back to that guy being like, Shinobu's a tsundere. She's actually a soft heart that hides behind this hard exterior, right? That's why he's like, we should keep her away from people her own age. She'll learn to go easy on her opponents. And then she's like, the more isolated she is, the stronger she becomes. The thing that's curious to me is that Coach Issei, so Issei is his name. The thing that gets me is that Shinobu is very much aware of his tactics. She's aware of this, like, strategy, and she thinks it's correct. She thinks that it's right. And I'm like, I guess she's consenting to it, but damn. And then I love that Chihaya grabbed her hand. I was like, hell yes. Prove her wrong. And then Chihaya says, thank you for not going easy on me. That's what she needed to hear. She needed to say that, no, your coach is not always right. And then she's like, let's play Karuta again. And of course, that stoked the flames. That stoked the fire. She's like, when? When are we going to play? And Chihaya's like, we'll play in the Queen's match. And she's like, okay. I love these two girls, teary-eyed, forming this friendship and rivalry in this episode that's mutual and that they both want. I'm a sucker for it. I'm like, yes, exactly. And then she's like, what was her name? Also, that little overall dress with the whale on it. Shut up. That's adorable. That's so cute. But she did remember her name. I also like that as she's leaving, there's the autumn leaves, which are tied to Chihaya. So it's like her childhood friend left and didn't come back before they could even really develop the friendship. But now Chihaya, fall has come again, but it's a new fall, and Chihaya is going to be her rival and her friend. And she did. Satoko. She did remember Satoko. And you could tell, like, she really wanted to connect with her. And it kind of, like, broke her heart, and it made her this ice queen. And then here came Chihaya to melt it all away. And I like that these guys were like, man, nobody can challenge her, so I don't know how she's going to stay motivated if she stops. They established that Suo has stopped participating in tournaments, which I find interesting. Suo is fascinating. I don't want to know anything about Suo. We're going to figure out about him at some point. We know we are. But Suo clearly wants to win, so I'm curious why he just doesn't attend tournaments anymore. I'll see. And then, yeah, no, she's fine. She's fine. She's like, I only won by 23 cards. She's like, I lost 2, and she was injured. Okay, so Chihaya got 2 cards. I even lost my since I could not hide card. And then she's like, next time I won't let her take a single card. Shinobu is on fire. She is in yandere mode. She's like, I'm not going to let her beat me again. I'm not going to let her beat me, and I'm not going to let her take any cards again. I'm going to be on top. I'm going to win. Like, I love it. I freaking love it. I don't know if that strategy is going to pan out for her in the long run, but I love it. What I get that I find so fascinating about this that I wanted to talk about earlier is that this concept of the rivalry between Shinobu and Chihaya, it has so much chemistry laid into it. And it's like Chihaya actively pursues the rivalry with Shinobu. She's like, I want to play you again. I want to face you. I want you to not go easy on me. I am excited to play you. That's what I want. Taichi is terrified of playing Arata. Has he come a long way in thinking before that he couldn't beat Arata at all to thinking that now I'd like to play you because I think I have a chance? Sure, but Taichi still, the concept of Arata terrifies him. Not only because he worries that Arata might steal Chihaya from him, but also because he fears for Arata as a player to go against. But he secretly wants them to be rivals. Or he acknowledges that they are. Whereas Chihaya just comes out and says it. And is like, we're rivals. And Shinobu's like, I know, right? And I think if Taichi announced to Arata that he wanted to be rivals, Arata would be like, okay, and would go for it. It's just the way that Chihaya and Taichi approach this rivalry in different ways is so interesting to me. And of course, it's our two sunshine-haired characters making rivals out of the two moonlit characters. It's like, of course. I don't know. This part was sad, though. Her, like, realizing her tournament is over. Her summer is over. But I felt for her, because I'm like, girl, she wanted it so badly. And you can't have both. Girl, you were greedy. But you can't have the national title as a team and the tournament title as an individual. You can't do that. Can't have both, girl. The Karuta gods were not in your favor. So meanwhile, we go to where the people that are in the Class D are playing, and we see that Sumire makes it about as far as Chihaya does, ironically. Or coincidentally, she makes it as far as she did. I love her vision of them. So basically, in Sumire's vision, Chihaya is cheering her on from the side. Taichi's being, of course, effortlessly handsome. Nishida's eating something. Girl. And then meanwhile, Tsutomu and Kana are off being a couple, like getting stuff prepped for the team. Karuta freaks. I like that Sumire has realized she's actually pretty good, though. I like that. I mean, I think it's important to realize, like, that you are talented at things like that. I think that's important. And meanwhile, she imagines Taichi, like, praising her from the sidelines for, like, getting, like, far in the tournament and winning that class rank match. I'm like, girl, her envision of Taichi saying I'm impressed. I'm like, you... Rose-colored glasses, indeed. A girl can dream, right? I will say this on Taichi's behalf, and this is in a positive way. Taichi does not ever imagine Chihaya in this version. It's unrequited love in Taichi's mind. He has accepted the fact that she doesn't love him, which is so heartbreaking because, dude, she doesn't even know that you love her that way. Like, you've got to talk to her, my dude. But he never imagines her like this, which I'm actually glad for, you know? So anyway, the one dude from the group that appeared foreign but were actually not, he advances to semifinals. Whereas I do like that she's practicing her swing over by Whiteboard Coon's cousin. Glad that she's doing that. And Scuba announces that he's getting to the semifinals too. Good for Scuba. He asks if she'll take a picture, but then as soon as he reveals that Taichi's still in the Class B ranks, she runs off to cheer for him. I felt bad for Scuba at first, but then he's like, oh, well, whatever. I like Scuba's like, I'm still good. Bless him. So we don't get to see how Kana and Tsutomu are doing, but girl walks in and we're in the semifinals, which means we're down to Rion. Rion is there. Rion is in the room. Rion is facing this one guy. I think she's going to win, and that means she's going to face whoever wins, either Retro Coon or Taichi. I love when she's like, what is this atmosphere? It's so tense. Also, I love that you have Nishida and his sister who are each rooting for the opposite people playing against each other. So Taichi didn't come to play. No. Taichi did not come to play. Taichi's like, I came here to dominate. And I want him to face Rion so bad, and I want him to win. I want to see that next episode so badly. And Retro Coon, meanwhile, is like, I can't lose. But I'm like, dude... when you have to say that you're going to win, that's usually a bad sign. And Taichi's not showing his face. Taichi is on fire. I love it. I want to see it. Yeah. And he immediately takes the card from Retro Coon. That's such a good shot of Taichi. He looks so aggressive. Here's the thing. I am all for fiery, aggressive Taichi. Give me fiery, aggressive Taichi. I have had to struggle for 2 seasons with overthinking, doubtful Taichi. Woe is me. I'm not good enough. I'm like, yes, you are. You have amazing memory skills. You have talent. Get off your ass and realize it. It bugs me so much. Here's the thing. People are always like, you're being really hard on Taichi. No, I'm a coach, and I have people on the team that I coach that are incredibly talented. So talented. If they would believe in themselves, they could do anything. But they're always like, oh, I suck. Oh, I'm this. Oh, this. I'm like, I get so tired of it. I get so over it. I'm like, you need to just quit saying you suck and just start saying that you're great and believing it and do something about it, right? So, yes. Yeah. So, I like aggressive, like Taichi wants it. Taichi wants it. You can see in that look right there, Taichi freaking wants to make Class A because I want him to announce to Arata that they're rivals. I want Arata to know about it. I want to know how he feels. I want it. I live for the concept that Taichi wants to play and become master alongside Chihaya being the queen. Now, in my mind, it's interesting because Arata was the one at first that proposed Chihaya and him being king and queen. Because Chihaya was like, oh, there's another version. He's like, oh yeah, the queen is like the female version of the master, right? The master, not the king. But he's the one that proposed that originally. But I don't know. I've always thought watching this series that there's a part of Taichi that's always wanted to kind of be a master. In my mind, I've always kind of got that vibe from Taichi. And I know that the show has not necessarily promoted that idea, but there's a part of me that always kind of, as soon as Arata mentioned that, the idea of the queen and the master, there's a part of me that watched that episode and saw Taichi and Taichi being like, that could be also Chihaya and me. But he never would admit to it until he casually says it here in season 2, being like, yeah, I could be master. Like, yes, you could, and you should. Go for it. Do it. But Taichi looks so good here. I want to see aggressive Taichi next week. That's what I want to see. I want to see him kicking butt. I think he can beat Retro-kun. I want to see him against Rion. I need this to happen, y'all. And, oh, this is such a good episode. Shinobu and Chihaya's, like, chemistry is off the charts. It's got all the hallmarks of a great ship. Every hallmark, checking all the boxes. Cowardly show won't give us that. They're gonna make us just wait for AO3. Anyway, we only have 3 episodes left of this season, and I'm honestly, as soon as I can check comments, as soon as the mods give me the go ahead and the green light, I'm gonna be getting on that lickety split. So, Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this episode and discussion. I cannot wait to see Taichi's match next week. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back very soon with more of Chihayafuru Season 2. And I'll see you then. Bye.